Welcome to the fourth and final episode in a Legendarium series about the life and reign of King Henry I of England. In part 4, we will talk about how the extraordinarily successful reign of King Henry I was threatened by a family tragedy. King Henry I had a legitimate heir early in his reign. In 1103, his wife gave birth to a son named William Adelin, grandson of William the Conqueror. Though the chroniclers described him as pampered, Prince William had managed the kingdom effectively with his father's advisors to guide him during one of Henry's absences. In 1119, Henry I married his son William to Matilda of Anjou, despite her being 8 years old at the time. Nonetheless, this symbolic wedding secured the southern border of Normandy and ensured the line of succession. In 1120, King Henry I made 17-year-old Prince William the honorary Duke of Normandy, an honor that William the Conqueror denied any of his sons during his lifetime. William Adeline traveled to Paris to pay homage to his liege lord in Normandy, King Louis VI. William then rode to the port of Barfleur to rejoin his father. Prince William commissioned a captain named Thomas Fitzstephen to take him back to England. Fitzstephen had just refit a new ship called La Blanche Neuf, or White Ship, renowned for its beauty and speed. While King Henry I sailed ahead on his own ship, Prince William's party began drinking their supply of French wine and began offering bottles to the ship's crew. The prince's entourage urged Fitzstephen to beat King Henry on the journey back to England. Thus, on the trip out of Barfleur Harbor, they paid little attention to the rocks outside Gotteville Point. Not surprisingly, the ship struck a submerged rock and began to sink into the freezing water. Several men saw Prince William into a lifeboat. However, William saw his half-sister Matilda drowning and turned around to save her. Other men began climbing into William's boat, which caused it to sink. Thomas Fitzstephen survived the wreck, but drowned himself when he learned that Prince William had died. He preferred to perish rather than face the grief-stricken king. It was said that King Henry never smiled after learning of the White Ship disaster. Not only had he lost a son, but all plans for a smooth succession were shipwrecked. Desperate to sire another heir, the aging King Henry, who was widowed by that time, married 18-year-old Adeliza de Louvain. However, Henry was now in his 50s and the couple had no children. Perhaps growing bad-tempered, he restored the death penalty for certain crimes, and in one day during 1124, he hung 44 thieves on charges of counterfeiting. However, the succession was always first and foremost in his mind. With no son, he cooked up a radical solution. In February 1102, almost 2 years before William's birth, King Henry had a daughter named Matilda. When she was 7 years old, Henry sent her to Germany with a party of Norman nobles and a dowry of 10,000 marks. She was betrothed to Emperor Henry of the Holy Roman Empire. She formally married Henry in 1114, and when her husband died some 11 years later in 1125, King Henry demanded that she return to Normandy. She came with money, jewels, and the hand of St. James the Apostle. On Christmas Day 1126 at Windsor, Henry assembled all the leading magnates of England and made them swear a solemn oath to support Matilda as his successor. The next year, King Henry married Matilda to Geoffrey le Bel, son of the Count of Anjou, better known as Geoffrey Plantagenet. Several times over the next decade, King Henry called more meetings of England's French-speaking aristocracy to reaffirm their support for Matilda taking the throne. Unfortunately, Matilda herself complicated these plans by quarreling so bitterly with her husband Geoffrey that she left Anjou and returned to England. Things got so out of hand that Henry convened a royal council in 1131 that ordered Matilda to reconcile with Geoffrey. Things must have gotten better because Matilda and Geoffrey had 2 children, the future Henry II and Geoffrey the Younger. The good news came just in time, for on December 1st, 1135, King Henry died from a seizure caused by overeating lampreys. As a king, Henry was extraordinarily successful. He reunified his father's realms of Normandy and England and provided them with a government that marked a step forward from feudal violence into modern bureaucracy. He also did something truly remarkable in waging no wars for personal gain for 3 decades, giving the long-suffering people of England and Normandy more than a generation of peace. Yet his final plan, his effort to put his daughter on the throne, ended in catastrophe. While Matilda tried to take what her father had promised her, one of her kinsmen, Stephen of Blois, seized the crown for himself, and the nobles of England, unwilling to be ruled by a woman, rallied to Stephen's side. For the next 19 years, until Henry II took the throne, England would be plagued by civil war after being ruled for 30 years by a king who worked so hard to avoid conflict. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.